And we are live. Welcome anybody that's watching to this Trotec collaboration with Bluestar Leasing. My name is Brian Jata. I'm from Trotec UK, and I have with me Ben Matthews from Bluestar Leasing. You'll see on the right hand side of the screen you've got a comment section, so if you want to ask any questions, please pop the questions into the comment section. If you just want to say hi, please say hi. Let us know where you're watching from. But this is primarily aimed at the at our UK customer base, with it being all about the government loans that are available right now through us. So let's make a start. As I said, my name is Brian. I'm from Trotec, and we have Ben from Bluestar Leasing. Ben, if you could just give us a little overview of who Bluestar are and what that's all about.
Absolutely, thank you. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Ben Matthews. I'm one of the business managers at Bluestar Leasing. Bluestar are a business asset finance broker. Recently become part of the Manx Financial Group. The Manx Financial Group is based on the Isle of Man. We work in every sector. Been working with Trotec now for nearly 6 years. And I've been with the company just over 6 years. So yeah, we're all ready to go, and there's lots of going on in the market.
There certainly is. Let's just bring this back up. So today, what we wanted to bring to our customer base, I know vast majority of our customers have really got their finger on the pulse, but we wanted to make sure that people don't miss some of the opportunities that there are out there right now, and therefore we brought Ben on board to explain all about these CBILS, so Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme, that are available right now, which are essentially offering out very, very cheap money for people. And this is not just available for Trotec lasers, unfortunately, but for anybody who wants to take advantage of this. There's lots and lots of options there. So I'm going to hand over to Ben, who's going to just run through some of the basics of how this works.
Yeah. So as Brian says, there's probably never been a better time in the UK for a business to invest at the moment. The government, obviously, during the pandemic, wanted to keep the economy going as best it could. So they provided the CBILS loan scheme, which obviously a lot of businesses took very early on, was the bounce back loan, which is capped at 50,000. The luxury about the CBILS facility is it's up to £5 million, or 25% of your turnover. So the government effectively have said to lots of lenders that we work with that they will back 80% of the loan. And we can do anything from as you say, loans all the way through to the asset finance market, which is finance leases, hire purchase, which is probably the most common facilities that we do for most of the Trotec customers, and probably most of the our current businesses that we work with. Should we go to slide 2? So just some key features. The main thing about the CBILS and the bounce back was all about the government helping businesses through the first 12 months of the pandemic. Hopefully, we might be seeing some light at the end of the tunnel now with the vaccine. But the government have kept this facility open. It was originally only until the end of November. They then put it to the end of January, and now they've extended it to the end of March. They obviously recognise there's a lot of businesses that are using it, and you know, the more people that do, the more people that can stay open and take full advantage of their business and investment. So the key features are the government pays the first 12 months of the interest. We'll look at a couple of options later on in the slides, but the key feature is the government effectively will pay the first 12 months of interest. There's probably not been a cheaper time on the market to invest. Rates start from somewhere around kind of 1.8%. So, you know, even when we were looking at deals before the pandemic, you know, you could probably get something about 2.93% was a pretty low rate. So 1.8 is obviously fantastic. The government supports the lenders with 80% of the guarantee, which is why they've based the lending criteria on the turnover, which obviously provides a lot of the SME market the ability to invest in bigger and a little bit more than maybe they were prepared to before. And hopefully this will help businesses grow and keep growing through the next 12 months. As I said earlier, it's available in loans and asset finance. I know there are people out there, some of our lenders are doing 30-40 million pounds of this a month. And it's, the luxury of it is that there's, as it says, there's no guarantees for facilities under 250,000. Whereas before, from a guarantee point of view, you were probably looking at somewhere between anything above kind of 40% of your company net worth, whereas now companies' net worth are kind of non-existent and they're working on turnover. Terms normally on a normal asset finance would be probably between 12 months and 5 years. Obviously, there's a luxury here that they can do up to 6 years, which gives people even longer to spread the cost. And if you do look at a 12-month option, there's obviously the degree that effectively you're not paying any interest. So you're basically just covering the capital cost for the first 12 months. So it kind of gives you 12 months break. Businesses, as I said, can have multiple facilities. They can have anything up to 25% of their annual turnover. So just because you might have taken a CBILS loan from your bank, if it's less than 25% of your annual turnover, then you can have multiple facilities. And as I said earlier, the deadline is currently the end of March. However, we do know from the government that there will be another product which will take us through to at least September this year. However, we are unsure yet about the ins and outs of it.
Brilliant. So, what makes people eligible then, Ben? So,
obviously, it is the coronavirus kind of business interruption scheme. So, first and foremost, has your business been affected by COVID? I've yet to speak to a customer who hasn't been affected in some way by COVID. I know lots of businesses have done very well out of the situation. That doesn't mean they haven't been affected. So the other one is, have you been trading for 2 years? There are different schemes out there, and different banks are doing lending to different lengths. A company, how long have you been trading for? Mainly, you're looking at kind of 2 years trading, because that then gives the bank the opportunity to see where you were before COVID. Was your annual turnover on the last set of accounts filed over 200,000? The minimum CBILS for a loan based is 50,000, whereas from an asset point of view, it's 5,000. But obviously, if you've got a turnover of less than 200,000, the bounce back loan is the best facility out there for you at the moment. The CBILS is like it says there, purely open to limited companies. I know self-employed and other regulated businesses. There are other schemes available. I mentioned earlier about the bounce back facility. That's probably the one loan and the easiest loan that people took very quickly. Lots of people I speak to have still got it sitting in the bank. They took it very much as didn't know what was going to happen. No one really knew. We went into a lockdown very quickly. They took 50,000. It's sitting in the bank. However, I talked to a lot of customers who are now looking to invest in far more than 50,000. So if you're looking at a CBILS facility, you do have to pay back your bounce back loan. But as we know, the bounce back loan is set at 2.5%. So, and we know the CBILS opportunities, there are opportunities to get less than that, and you still get your 12 months from when you take your CBILS option. So, you might have taken a bounce back loan in May. If you take a CBILS option and you don't have the kit installed till May, effectively you've got 2 years there of interest-free money. The key thing here is this is a British-backed policy. This is for UK businesses, and this is for UK businesses that do 50% of their trade within the UK. It's quite a big part of it. It's a question on the forms that you have to sign to say. So it is a legal requirement. And then for anyone that is, and I haven't met many Trotec customers that have turnovers over 45 million, sorry. But if your business does have a turnover of greater than 45 million, then there is actually a scheme available for you on a CBIL scheme, but it's not something that we are involved with. And then the key bit, going back to kind of the trading for 2 years, is the difficulty. Were you in difficulty at the end of last year? So one of the things the banks look at is they look at the last set of accounts. They look at how you've coped through COVID. They want to understand how your business has been affected. But what this isn't to do, this isn't to help businesses that were struggling before coronavirus kicked in. This is about businesses that have been affected in the last 9 months.
So just a question from my side, Ben. Obviously, we are Trotec Laser UK and Ireland. Presumably, this is available for our customers in Northern Ireland, but not in the south.
Absolutely, yeah. So anywhere in the UK,
Okay.
so England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, but unfortunately not Southern Ireland.
Okay. So the benefits.
Yeah. So the biggest benefit, really, from an SME point of view, is the first 12 months of interest is paid for. There are, and we will look at these coming on, there are a couple of options that people can work with. Every bank has got their own kind of way of doing things. Some banks offer it where you pay nothing for 12 months. Some banks offer it where you pay just the capital for the first 12 months. But whichever route you go down, the government supports you in the first 12 months. And I'm not trying to repeat myself, but this is the cheapest money on the market at the moment. It's the best time. I've been doing this job, as I say, for 6.5 years, and I've not seen money like this and so available. And it's great to be able to work with businesses to see them still grow and develop through this period, as I know lots of businesses have been majorly affected. Yeah.
So does this? Sorry, Ben, interrupting you. Is this still effective for people who have maybe, because we've seen a lot of customers who've actually been affected in quite a positive way for their business, with the high street struggling and a lot more shopping online. So even if your business is actually thriving, is this still an available option to you?
So I mean, this is available to businesses that have been affected by COVID. Now, I work with companies that have done well through different trades that have obviously benefited at some point throughout the coronavirus. However, it is clear that at some point in the last 9 months, someone has been affected in some way. So it might just be down to the fact that you've had to furlough staff, or your supply chains stopped it. Even if you had, you might have struggled in the first 3 months, but then the last 6 months you've done really well. Well, you struggled in the first 3. So actually, without that struggle in the first 3, you might have done even better in the last 6. So as we look at it over the 9-month period, have you been affected in some way? I know at the start, kind of April, May time, I know there was a definite issue with supply chain from abroad. Getting things in was taking longer, which obviously then reduces, when you've got people saying they can turn things out in 24 hours and 36 hours, that can't happen. So yeah, I've seen businesses do really well in the last year, but that doesn't mean they haven't been affected. And just because they have done well, but they might have been affected at another point in the virus, doesn't mean they are excluded from this.
And even if they've made investments in the past 12 months or since the start of COVID, even if they've made cash investments and things like that, that's all completely unaffected as far as the CBILS is concerned. Yeah,
absolutely. So the banks look further back now. They're asked for more information. They want to see how businesses are doing, and they want businesses to be honest. We ask for COVID statements now on every deal that we look at. And a COVID statement, basically, you tell us how it's affected you. And I have, like I say, I've had COVID statements that say first 3 months was a nightmare, last 6 months has been fantastic. So yeah, it's really open for businesses that have been adversely affected in some way. Obviously, I know you might be in the gym sector and it's been massively adversely affected. Whereas if you're in online retail, you might have struggled with your supply chain, so you haven't been able to get things done. The first lockdown might have caused you more issues than it's worth. So yeah, it's fully open for that. And if customers have purchased anything in the last kind of 3 to 6 months that as a cash purchase because they had the cash then, and now they're thinking actually it might be a good idea to get that cash back in the business, we can look at doing refinance on equipment. So if you've got a cash purchase in especially the last 3 months, then get in touch, and we can look to refinance that and get that cash back in your bank, and then give you another further 12 months where you don't have to potentially pay anything. So then you can build on that investment.
Excellent.
And I guess the last bit on the slide just basically covers it. If I'm having conversations with customers, a lot of my key customers about their buying plans for 2021, and the conversation is, you might not be looking to buy now, but that doesn't mean you can't apply and get a facility in place. The approval times are up to 6 months, so you could apply in March and not get it until August, delivered until August. So it doesn't mean just because you're not buying it before March, you can't look at getting a facility in place. And if you have a facility in place and you don't need it by June because you're in a position that you don't require, you're not obliged to take it. But you would be, I'm talking to companies and they're saying, I'm buying X now, but then I'm buying a load more in June. Well, let's get it in now. Let's get it approved. You've got the facility in place, so that if you get to June and your cash flow is not as good as you thought it might be because of whatever, you've got this to fall back on.
Okay, that's brilliant. That's really useful. Now we've had a question from Andrew Willison, which says, "What is the interest rate charged?" We're going to do some examples now, and Ben will talk, because it's all very well talking about rates, etc. But if you're anything like me, it's just numbers until it comes to what's the real repayment. So we're going to go into that now. But thank you for your question, Andrew. Yeah,
perfect. So got a couple of examples here. Option 1 and option 2. Option 1 is very much the cheaper option. We've done it based on 35,000. I looked at the business that I've done with Trotec over the last 6 years, and the kind of average deal size is about 35,000. So that's what we based it on. And the majority of the business that we do is generally over 5 years. So option 1, the first 12 months, as you can see, is capital payments only. So as I said earlier, the government pays the interest and you pay for the capital. Following 48 months is the remaining capital and the remaining interest. Total payable is fairly self-explanatory. Then working out the average month. So if we averaged out over 60 months, that's where we would get to. And then we've used the equivalent customer paying flat rate as a way of working out from the average and the cost and the months, we can work out roughly what it would be off a CBILS scheme. And that comes in at 2.7% over 5 years. Obviously, over 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, the interest gets better. So I did the same numbers on a 3-year deal, and we're looking at 1.85%. So, obviously, the longer the term, the more the interest rate goes up. Option 2 is the first 12 months you pay nothing. So literally you have nothing to pay for the first 12 months. And then from month 13 onwards, you've got your set figure. Total payable, you can see it's slightly more. It's not a lot. It's less than £1,000 more expensive. And the rate has gone up by 0.5%. Obviously, the reason the rate has gone up is purely down to the fact that you have the first 12 months of paying nothing. Now, this is based on 35,000. Option 2, over 100,000. The rate does come down to almost match the equivalent of 2.7. So, for a SME business that's buying generally sub 50K, this is where you're looking at. But if you are buying something over 100,000, then the rate does come down.
Okay, and you mentioned earlier that rates are starting at 1.8%, but obviously these examples are significantly higher than that.
Yeah. So as I say, so from 3 years on option 1, I know that it's 1.85%. Option 2, I believe it's around the same 1.8, 1.9% over 100,000. But under 100,000, this is where we're kind of sitting. And 2 years will be a similar kind of, it gradually reduces on the term that you use it for. If you did 12 months on option 2, I think I priced a deal up for a customer recently, and they were going to pay, I think it was a 60 grand deal, and they were going to pay something like, it's basically 1 month's worth of interest. So it's very little, and then you settle it. So it works out, I can't remember what the rate works out at, but the actual interest repayments, it's about 400 quid, and you pay nothing for 12 months. So to have the freedom to buy now, pay nothing until this time next year, and only pay kind of £400 for the privilege of it, it's a bit of a win. It's
very cheap cash.
Indeed.
Okay, so that's examples of the two different types of options with the CBILS. What Ben kindly put together, because I was asking him the question, was how that actually compares with what you'd normally see. Because it's all very well saying it's cheap money, but cheap compared to what? So back to you. Sorry, Ben.
That's all right. So we've just done a slight comparison of a standard finance lease compared to a CBILS lease. And as some points come back to what we said earlier. The CBILS is fairly self-explanatory, we've discussed already. The big one is the no guarantees required up to 250,000. Whereas on a standard lease, you can see the rate is slightly more. The thing with that is the rate doesn't massively drop. It might be 4.4 over 5 years. We might get down to maybe 4.2 over 3, whereas we drop from 3.2 to 1.8. There's a significantly bigger drop on the CBILS scheme. And as I said earlier, if your business is worth £50,000 on paper and you're borrowing £35,000, we would look for a guarantee from you as a director. You go on the CBILS route, there is no guarantee required. So the way the government has backed it by 80% has massively meant that businesses are able to borrow and look to invest in bigger and better kit, whereas before, some customers are quite happy to give personal guarantees. Some are completely against it. Whichever way you look to do it, the better option right now is the CBILS option. So it doesn't, we've done a comparison here, but there are lots of features that the CBILS offers, which is significantly better than what we've got as a standard lease.
Brilliant. Any questions from anybody? Then please pop them in the chat, and Ben will be delighted to answer them. But if you, because we'll put this onto YouTube, so if you want to watch it again at a later date, then please feel free. And then there's contact details there if there's any additional questions that come from that. Is there anything that you think it's important to add, or have you covered everything you wanted to get across, Ben?
Oh, I think it's pretty. I think we've covered most stuff that we need to get across. The big thing from us is get in touch and have a chat. Nothing's too small or too big. Let's have a chat. We can discuss with you. We can find out if you're eligible fairly quickly. And there's, like I said, there's different options. So the more I talk to people on the phone, the more we can understand what you're looking for, what you're trying to achieve, and we can look at the best options for you. And that is, that is key right now.
I think it's an important point to just get across that when we spoke about this, you said that the eligibility check is quick. It's not piling through loads and loads of forms. You can check for somebody in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, so I can ask you probably 3 or 4 questions to find out if we have a chance of getting this. We will ask for financial information as per anybody would when you're looking at this sort of stuff. But I can have a chat with you and find out if you've got a chance of getting this. If very quickly you reveal that your turnover last year was 75,000, I know it's not one for you, but then I can point you in the direction of the right thing for you. Equally, you might have used your CBILS, you might have used your bounce back loan and you don't want to pay that money back, then there are other facilities. We can, look at normal finance leases, normal hire purchases. The money is still good out there. Obviously the CBILS is the best option for customers right now, which is why we're pushing it. But there are plenty of other facilities out there for people. So just because your business may have started in the last 12 months, that doesn't mean you can't do business.
Brilliant. We really appreciate you spending some time with us today, Ben, because it's interesting. It's interesting for us as a business to understand what's available to our customers, and also for the customers to have somebody to potentially give them the options that are available. What I'd really like to push as well is Trotec Live. So for anybody that's watching that hasn't been caught by our marketing machine, we're doing a 3-day live event covering a whole raft of topics, from machine comparisons to applications to bringing some customers on board to show what they're doing, which is all end of this month. If you are watching and you can scan on that QR code, it'll take you straight through to the registration point, and register, so we can send you links to each of the individual sessions that we're doing. Please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. That's probably it. When you get to my age, I can't think of anything else. And thanks ever so much for joining us today. And thank you once again, Ben.
Thank you very much.